All right, class, this is the last video for this drawing. We're going to go over dimensioning. You can see the fully dimensioned drawing in front of you here. And I'm just going to point out some of the more challenging areas. So we'll just start on the left and move our way to the right. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So first off, you have a note, of course, indicating the standard fillet size as 1/8 of an inch. We have the, above that, we have the distance from the left side to the right side of the petal, and then from the right side of the petal to the center line of the pivot. So this dimension right here, the 3.5, is hooked into the center line coming out of the pivot. So its connection is right where it intersects the object line. And on the next side, with the 4-inch dimension, we're careful not to go into the arcs. I know I always say this. I will reiterate it here, that this point of origin for the extension line is not making contact with the object, okay? But that is not what we want to do. We want to utilize our construction line intersection, and I'll turn them on so you can see. So that is the point right there that we wanted to click on. And over on this side, it's this point right here. So there you go, that point of intersection and this point of intersection. I'll turn those off and zoom back out. Going up a little bit, you can see the thickness of the arm at the end and the petal itself. Those are pretty straightforward. You know, you could put these dimensions anywhere you want. I pulled them out. If you keep them on the inside like this, it looks a little crowded. You know, that is the default, I believe, but you can just click on the value then and pull it out. And I feel it looks nicer. Okay, moving on to the angle dimension here. Nothing to that. You just go up to your dimension tool, choose angular, and then click on a couple of these teeth and pull the dimension outward. There it is, just like that. The distance between teeth should also be dimensioned, so you can just click on a couple of those points, pull that distance out. It was 7/16. 438 is a decimal. As we move to the right, here is the one dimension on this drawing that I inserted. It was not on the original, and I believe I am correct in my assumption, but just to clarify what I am dimensioning there, the end of this radius, remember we put that at the midpoint of this petal. So this petal top was 3/8 of an inch. So the distance from the top to its center is 3/16 or 0.188. And that's where I have the fillet tying in, okay? And then of course this line was going to tangent on the pivot itself. Does not need to be dimensioned. Utilizing the same extension line, we have this dimension right here showing the distance from the top of the petal, again, being measured from the intersection of the outside line. So there it is. That is the point of the extension line's origin. It's right where the outside construction line and the top construction line intersect. Turn that off again. And then from that point to the center line of the pivot, which I extended outward, as you can see here, That distance is 5/8 of an inch, 0.625. Okay. Making our way upward, this radius, very simple, just the standard. Just go to radius dimension and click on it, and then take the default. Nothing to it. I'll zoom out a little bit. You have the inch diameter for the hole going through the pivot here. Pretty standard. Zoom out a little more. The pedal in the top view has a couple dimensions. We have the 3-inch distance across, and then the 375 or 3/8 thickness of the arm. And that is the only indicator of the arm's thickness on the entire drawing, as it is assumed to all be the same thickness. You may have been tempted to put a radius dimension on this guy, and honestly, I would not blame you. But if it is not dimensioned, it is assumed to be tangent to this 3-inch width, and then its 1.5 radius would be assumed. But again, honestly, if you put that there, wouldn't hold it against you. Moving our way upward, we have the distance from the center line of the pivot here, all the way up to the outer center point of this puck. So the center of that circle, there it is right there. And that was a key offset that we made, very important one, at 5 1/8 inches. So there it is. We also have the thickness of the puck up here as 3/8. And of course, its diameter, shown in the side view as it is essentially a cylinder. And that is the preferred way to dimension a cylindrical shape in the side view. The last dimension on this whole thing over here is this guy right here. And that was a pretty contentious dimension. It is the distance, let's zoom in on that just to refresh your memories. It is the distance from the end point of this arc, or the outer edge of this arc right here, which, because it is not dimensioned, is assumed to be an 1/8 inch radius, to this line that made up this edge here. So we drew this arc and then created a line perpendicular to this one here, extended it out 1.063, and then ran a construction line from that point right there to the tangent on the outside pivot. And that gave us this line, created this line for us. And of course, we did a little fillet at the end there. So that was a really important dimension. And to do it, there's nothing to it. I actually exploded mine after I made it, just to kind of tighten it up a little bit. But to make that dimension, it would just be a standard align dimension. And so I'm grabbing the endpoint of that line and the arc right there where they meet, and just heading out perpendicular. And you can see it automatically does a perpendicular snap. It's saying perpendicular. And then to there. And if you didn't erase the line, we made a line segment, and I actually used that one to create this. So there was the half line segment, you remember, and then it went perpendicular to that center line, and then we drew this thing out, pulled it out on that same line, typed the value, which was 1.0625. And when I did the dimension, I had that line there. So I used a line dimension and clicked on the endpoints of that line and just pulled it out, grabbed hold of it like this, pulled it out along that line. Then I deleted that line, got rid of it. And moved my looks like I clicked a little off there. That should have been 6.3. But then moved in there and got rid of, exploded it, got rid of these little extension lines there so they weren't showing, just to clean that up. So my finished product looked like that. The last dimensions on here are on the right side view, and we have the overall width of the pivot, and then its outer diameter. While I'm here, I would like to note that I erased this line since we last talked. That line went across there, and that was a mistake of mine. So you can trim out this little bit right here to be technically correct. The bottom edge of that plate on the foot pedal there is not visible through the arm, so that needs to be removed. All right, so that's basically it. Zoom in on that tight for you. There it is, the final solution.